Welcome to RawMagick. One of the most difficult things is creating new videos for our customers, mainly because they require a lot of scripting, a lot of editing, and it takes us rather a long time, and we do only have limited time. The idea of RawMagick is to get more videos out. They are pretty much unedited, and we're going to take an image, work through it, and show you the workflow and try to cover different features with each video. So you'll probably have to put up with our ums and ahs when we get stuck. This particular video image I took when I was in Denmark shooting some equestrian photos for a new book. This particular image has a lot of dark areas and bright areas too. So the first thing I'll do is to put it into high dynamic range. Now this has made it a little bit too bright and lacking in contrast. So the first thing I'm going to do here is move this point a little bit down, just to move the data right up across against the black point. Okay, and it's gone a little bit crazy there. As I clicked it, it's now selected. You can see by the little arrow here that this one's selected. We can use the shift key and the left arrow key to move that in quite small increments. Okay, so that's pretty good there. What we're going to try and do now is increase the contrast. We're also going to try and get the data, the brightest data here, spread a little bit more over the graph, over the histogram. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of contrast there now, and let's just move that point right to the top. Right, so just let's have a zoom in and have a little look at the... Okay, so there's quite a lot of information there still. Okay, so just by moving this point back a little bit, we can just create a little bit more contrast there. Again, this is one of the points of this sort of videos. You can see me trying a few things. I mean, moving this point reduces the contrast, moving it back this way increases the contrast. You have to be just careful that there's not too much contrast. Clicking phase 1 config, this G curve here, when you're dealing with images that have blown out areas, when you're trying to recover them in high dynamic range mode, sometimes in the brightest areas you may get a magenta look or some other false color. You can just, this particular, there we are, we just got a little bit more information. This particular slider here tells the algorithm at which point in the G channel it should start using its algorithm to interpolate and guess correct parts of the information. Let's just look down here at the... Okay, that looks alright, and there's plenty of information still on here too. Okay, just have a look. Okay. So there we have it. Let's just close this window. Now personally I think this image is a little bit too yellow. The greens are a little bit too yellow. So what we're going to do now is use our user white balance. Now there are white balance controls on here, but these white balance controls act upon the data after it's all been calculated. When an image is demosaicked, it applies a red and a blue coefficient to the image to bring the colors correct. By editing in this mode, you can actually edit those red and blue coefficients directly, and you get a much better color correction because it's done at source rather than on top of information that's already been created. Let's have a little look at that. Okay. So pretty much I know with this image that we just need to give it a little bit less red and a little bit more blue. Let's move that out of the way so we can see it a little bit better. And it's not much really needed to change it. Okay, and that's about right. It tells you on the sliders how much you've changed it, but essentially as you move the mouse in this area, you're adding blue and taking away red, adding red and adding blue, taking away blue and adding red, and removing both blue and red. So we click OK, that'll enable that. We can click it on and click it off to see the difference. I'm not happy with the contrast levels there. Whoops, it's a bit much. Okay, that's fine. So one of the things we can do now is let's have a look at it in full size, and we'll just show you the high quality DeMosaic preview. Let's zoom in, and you can notice a little bit of noise and color problems here. You click on that. We also want to bring out this tab so we can look at the different settings. We can draw a little area, and then it shows you what it will look like in high quality. Let's just move the noise reduction up a little bit, and there you can see it's removed some of the color problems. There are some little jaggy edges here. We can just knock the sharpness down a little bit, and just a little bit more, and that's helped that. Let's see if we can see any other areas where that'll help. Yeah, you can see the same thing here. When you move it over, the black becomes a lot better. Okay. Now, let's move on to phase 2. So you click this little button here. And we're going to use phase 2 to add a little bit of sharpening. Okay, so we can choose filters and RM sharpening. Let's find an area we can have a look at. There we are. So, edge sharpening we want to increase a little bit. We want to blur the mask a little bit. By the way, if we look at the mask, we go show mask, and you can see the edge mask here, and this is the areas that it will sharpen when you're selecting edge amount. By increasing the blur, some of the edges don't look quite so sharp or even jaggy. It does produce slightly better sharpening. The flat sharpening amount is, if we again look at the mask, it's these areas that are in black. We still want to sharpen that up a little bit more as well, and then we can just see the sharpening in effect. That's great. Yeah, that made quite a bit of difference on the neck. Okay.